Minority Whip Steve Scalise out of Louisiana. Sir, welcome back to our show. Good to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be back with you.
Here is the quote from Ocasio-Cortez on Nancy Pelosi in the Washington Post. The third and fourth time she insulted me, it was like, this is unnecessary, but I'm not going to pick a fight over it, whatever. I'll be the punching bag if that's what they want me to be. And you heard earlier the reference to women of color. Where is this? Where's it going?
Well, it's ugly and getting uglier, and you are seeing this fight between the far-left socialists and liberals. It used to be in the Democrat Party a fight between liberals and moderates. There are no moderates left. It's literally liberals versus socialists, and the socialists are winning. But for Nancy Pelosi to think that she can silence AOC and these other far-left socialists just shows that she's out of touch with what's happening in her own conference, and that, I think, is shocking a lot of people because she used to control it with an iron fist.
She's out of touch, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think she's completely misreading just how much of a grip these far-left socialists have on our conference. Look, AOC is threatening some of the liberals that she's going to run somebody in their primary if they don't vote for mainstream policies. I mean, a lot of them ran saying they were going to be pro-life, pro-gun, and anti-Pelosi, and they're all voting to allow a baby to be murdered after it's born alive. They're voting to cut taxes, to raise taxes. They're voting to take away your gun rights, and they're voting down the line with Nancy Pelosi, and yet that's not enough for AOC and the socialists. And so they're having this internal struggle. It's starting to play out publicly, but it just shows you, they ran and Pelosi took the gavel, trying to think that she could appeal to Middle America, and Middle America's looking at this going, wait a minute, we are not a socialist nation. We're still a center-right nation.
Nancy Pelosi, like it or not, I mean, this is the new blood that's coming into Congress, and she needs to get used to it, quite frankly. Social media, it doesn't seem she's very impressed by, but a lot of these younger congressmen and women do like to go to Twitter, and she said, they need to stay off of Twitter and get off of social media. When our own president, that's how, he likes to communicate with the country. And then instead of Twitter, in fact, Alexandria Cortez, she went on the Washington Post and had this interview. I want to play a clip of that. Okay, we do not have that, but we do have a quote from it, so then let's put that on the screen, okay? The third and fourth time she insulted me, it was like, this is unnecessary, but I'm not going to pick a fight over it. Whatever, I'll be the punching bag if that's what they want me to be. Is she making the story too much about herself, would you say?
Well, it's always been about her and this idea that she's going to promote socialism, but to her earlier interview that y'all played, for her to say that this work is hard, they're keeping her busy. Being a member of Congress, there is a lot of hard work to do. There are a lot of meetings, committee meetings, hearings. They should be doing the work of the American people, and if she thinks that's a little too hard, let me tell you, there are a lot of folks out there, hard-working families that go to work every day and work 2 jobs that are looking at this going, you know what, why don't you start focusing on us and the things that are broken in this country instead of trying to go after Donald Trump every day and having these little internal fights because you want more power. It's not about power. It's about fixing the broken immigration system where we have a crisis at the border. It's helping give more opportunity for lower-income people to get into the middle class. And instead of bashing the policies of Donald Trump that are working, they ought to be working with Donald Trump to do more things that are getting our economy back on track.
It sounds like a campaign already. Carl Rove writes in the Wall Street Journal, just want to share the headline. It says, Democrats go to extremes. The radicalism of the primary campaign will bite the party's 2020 nominee. So let's see how that plays out the next debate 2 weeks from now. To news of today, the president's going to make some sort of statement on the census. What should the White House pursue now, do you believe?
Well, I think it's appropriate to ask the question, like many other questions are asked on the census, why shouldn't one of them be, are you an American citizen? It's a basic question. It used to be on the census. And if you're trying to figure out how to apportion the country, how to make sure that you're putting financial resources behind places where you have people that are American citizens that have, whether it's infrastructure needs or health care needs, why isn't that one of the questions you should be able to ask?
You
there are so many other questions on there.
Do you think they'll continue to pursue it, I guess, is the
I strongly support the president doing it. And the Supreme Court left that door open for President Trump to come back and do it in a different way, to ask the question in an appropriate way. And I think the president's been working to make sure that it's done the right way in compliance with what the Supreme Court allowed in their recent ruling. So I support the president.
We will hold our fire until he makes that announcement today. So stand by.
I'm looking forward to it.
Moving on, Labor Secretary Secretary Alex Acosta. He's defending his role in a 2008 plea deal for Jeffrey Epstein. As you know, this is amid pressure for him to resign. The question is, his refusal to resign, will that hurt, and how much so the Trump administration, do you think?
Well, ultimately, this is going to be up to President Trump. But what Epstein did was just, it's disgusting. And it needs to continue to be prosecuted. There are other different jurisdictions where they're looking at bringing further charges. All the victims ought to have justice served. And he ought to be held to the highest level of contempt and ultimately pay the ultimate price that he deserves to pay for the crimes that he committed. So I want to see that continue to play out, where he's going to have to pay for what he did. It's disgusting what Epstein did, and ultimately, what happens with Acosta, that's going to be between he and the president.
Let's get Secretary Acosta's point of view. Here he is on a potential public hearing yesterday.
I'm not here to send any signal to the president. I think it's important. A lot of questions were raised, and this has reached the point that I think it's important to have a public hearing. I think it's important that these questions be asked and answered. And as to a message to the victims, the message is you need to come forward.
Some are doing just that. In fact, we heard from one yesterday on the Today Show on NBC. Sir, I don't know if you're following the battle in the Senate, but Democrats are making Mitch McConnell enemy number one. And Amy McGrath, a Democrat who lost her House race this past midterm race, is going to challenge him. She apparently was against Kavanaugh, was for him, and was against him in a span of a couple hours. Here's her latest tweet. I know I disappointed many today with my initial answer on how I would have voted on Brett Kavanaugh. I will make mistakes and always own up to them. The priority is defeating Mitch McConnell. Why do you think she changed her mind so quickly again?
Well, look, she is trying to appease the far left elements of the Democrat Party, and the problem for her, she's realizing, is Kentucky is not a far left socialist state. Look, I was there campaigning for Andy Barr last year when he beat Amy McGrath, and one of the things Amy did, she went to Massachusetts. Elizabeth Warren held a fundraiser for her, and she was on video saying, "I'll be the most liberal person in the state of Kentucky." Well, I hope everybody in Kentucky sees that, because they don't want the most liberal person in their state representing them in the United States Senate, when Mitch McConnell has been doing such a great job of getting President Trump's Supreme Court nominees confirmed and all the other judges that are on the bench. He helped usher through the tax cut bill that are creating opportunities not just for people in Kentucky, in my home state of Louisiana, all across the country, because of what we were able to do. So I think, look, let her keep running to the left and flip-flopping on positions. It's going to get ugly for her when she realizes that when you're running statewide, you're going to be held accountable for the things you already said, and especially when you're trying to appease a base that's very out of touch with the people of Kentucky and the people of this country. Speaking
of getting ugly, possible hurricane heading to Louisiana, massive flooding in New Orleans. Talk to us about what preps are being done where you are.
Well, a lot of preparations are being made. I spoke to the mayor of New Orleans yesterday, the governor as well, the head of the Corps of Engineers, about the levees, the structural integrity, especially when you look at the height of the Mississippi River. Right now, it's some of the highest levels it's been. It's a real concern that we're watching. I spoke to the president this morning, in fact, about this. The president's well aware and willing to do whatever needs to be done at the federal level to make sure that people are safe. And, hopefully, in a case like this, you always prepare for the worst but hope for the best. Yeah. So we're saying a lot of prayers, but also doing a lot of preparation. And I just urge local people in and around the city of New Orleans and towards Lafayette, listen to your local leaders. When your local leaders tell you what you need to do, if it's time for an evacuation, be prepared to protect your family.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming back today. Steve Scalise running down a big list for us today. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Joining us now with reaction, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is with us. Senator, why would I ever get in the midst of a good fight like that? Interesting squabble.
Right.
But you can see, now think about this. Speaker Pelosi pulls everyone together. You have something to say to me, say it to my face, not on Twitter.
Right.
Now, you got to give Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez credit. She went right out and slugged right back. And I'm like, good for her. A lot of courage.
Well, so what does this really mean? I think Republicans are more likely to take the House back because of this breakdown, because there are 31 Democrats that hold congressional seats where President Trump won their congressional district. What does it mean to these 31? If you cross AOC and the Fab 4, you're going to get a primary, And if you vote with them, you're going to lose in the general election. So the biggest beneficiary of this will be the Republican Party and President Trump, because the policies these four people are pushing are so out of the mainstream. But if you're one of these 31 Democrats, Sean, you got to pick between the energy of the Fab Four and the practicality of Nancy Pelosi. You're in a no-win situation.
Maybe I've only been in politics 30 years, on radio 30 years. We've been here on the Fox News. I'm like the old person here at Fox. I've been here from the beginning. And you can even see it in my hair every night. You know, so here's what I'm thinking. So the modern Democratic Party, let's see.
Right.
They want open borders, take down the walls. Walls are now immoral. They weren't when Obama was the president. Then they want free health care, and you can have no other choice. Medicare for all. Then they want higher taxes. Then all these 2020 candidates support the Green New Deal. Everything's free, everything. And by the way, no oil, gas, the lifeblood of our economy, no combustion engine, and eventually no cows and planes. Why am I thinking that if I'm Donald Trump, I'm a happy guy tonight?
If I'm President Trump, I'd go to Florida and show up next November and get reelected. If he would,
Is that all it's going to take?
Literally, Mr. President, if you're watching tonight, just enjoy this, be quiet, because here's what they're saying. They're going to decriminalize crossing the border illegally, and once you get here, they'll give you free health care. How many people in the world do you think will take us up on the offer? Come to America, there's no more criminal liability, and when you get here, we will give you free health care. This is insane.
Yeah, you know,
it's insane.
But then you got this whole other side, and somebody wanted me to ask you a question tonight, so I will ask it, which is they're obsessed with a fifth and sixth investigation.
Right.
FBI concluded, House Intel concluded, bipartisan Senate committee, and the Mueller report. No conspiracy, no collusion. Okay, that means there's no underlying crime, unlike Hillary, underlying crime, real obstruction, subpoenaed emails, bleach bit, all that. All right, so here's my question. So you now have the ability. They don't have solutions for America. You're going to run against that.
Right.
But you have the ability to bring in people like Andrew Weissman, who we learned today was responsible for hiring all the Clinton donors, even Clinton's attorney for Robert Mueller. Are you going to do that?
I'm going to let Horowitz do his job to tell us what happened with the FISA warrant process. Then I'm not going to get in Durham's way, who's looking at putting people in jail, but I am going to explain to the American people that everybody that was investigating Trump hated his guts and liked Clinton. I'm going to help tell that story, but I'm not going to do anything until Horowitz issues his report. But we will try to lay out the facts of the case and make sure in the future, if you apply for a FISA warrant, you have to tell the court, oh, by the way, the chief informant here hates the person they're looking at.
It's not
they have
verified?
a political bias. It's not verified. So I will do that, but here's what I want you to understand. The Democratic Party is imploding. That's bad for America. Their immigration policies are no more criminal liability if you come into the country illegally. You get free health care. We're going to abolish ICE. And even if you go to court and lose, you still can't be deported. Now, that's insane.
And by the way, I've been down to the border, I think now 14 times.
You're
going to the border?
Tomorrow.
We'll come back tomorrow. We'll update everybody.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Senator Graham, good to see you. Thank you.